Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Jack Hemingway. On tonight's show, we're going to the Sawtooth Mountains to take a look at a mysterious creature seldom seen by man, the legendary wolverine. You may recall a story we did last year on Incredible Idaho about a wolverine study that's being conducted by Fish and Game and the Forest Service. Biologists had set up a number of barrel traps like this, baited with roadkill deer, to lure the animals into the metal drum. The plan was to drug the creature and then radio collar it so scientists could follow the animal's movements. It was a frustrating experience. Although they regularly discovered tracks near the traps, throughout the winter only 3 wolverines were actually captured. Since then, 1 adult female slipped her radio collar and an elderly animal died, leaving only 1 wolverine left to monitor. But this year, a change in trap design, and perhaps a little change in luck too, has dramatically increased the sample size. So far this winter, 7 wolverines have been captured. 6 of those in 1 week.
This guy's pretty aggressive, but I don't know. I don't know how he's going to be with all these people around.
Late the day before, research biologist Jeff Copeland discovered that 2 of the traps were vibrating with the low, distinct growl of captured wolverines. Since these thick-necked animals seem to easily slip out of the radio collars, this year, scientists are marking them with implants, small radio transmitters that are surgically placed in the wolverine's abdominal cavity.
Okay, when we opened this yesterday, he just hit the front of it. He about took Beth's hat. So,
Okay, well, let's do this then. You keep him over this way. If you can give me a shoulder or rear end, boom, I'm in.
Dave Hunter is a wildlife veterinarian. He's been called in to perform this delicate surgery in these less than ideal conditions. A hypodermic needle containing an immobilizing drug is attached to a long jab stick. When everything is ready, the roof of the trap is eased up and the scientists place a screen across the entrance. Jeff lights the interior of the trap with a flashlight, while Dave tries to poke the animal with the drug.
you get him?
Got him.
Okay, down.
The traps look like miniature log cabins buried in the snow. Inside is a carcass hooked to a trigger. When the wolverine begins pulling on the meat, down comes the heavy roof and the animal is captured in a natural den.
We try to hang it so it's...
Around the trap site, roadkill deer and spawned-out fish hang from the trees. The scent of their rotting flesh further entices the animal to the site.
The wolverine is what they call a candidate species for threatened and endangered status, which basically means we don't know much about them. And this is a good opportunity to kind of get ahead of the game rather than waiting until maybe their numbers are reduced or their habitat is reduced to the point where they have to become listed as endangered.
A small camp table serves as the operating theater. Heat packs are placed under the animal and her claws are safely secured with ropes.
Okay, right now we're just shaving up the hair, and we're trying to keep the shaved area as small as possible.
The wolverine is one of the largest members of the weasel or mustelid family. A characteristic all mustelids share is well-developed scent glands that emit a musky odor, a trait even more obvious in its cousin, the skunk.
And so we're going to go make a nice little incision here.
Every precaution is taken to avoid infection. An antibiotic has been administered to the animal, and all the instruments and the transmitter itself are handled only with sterile gloves.
Now, if you guys can see, here's the intestinal tract, stomach. Up here we'll get a piece of liver, come around, and here's the transmitter. Lays off to one side, just behind the kidney. The kidney sits right there. It floats free in the peritoneal cavity, and it absolutely causes no problems.
The radio transmitter is already sending out a strong signal that should last for 2 years, allowing biologists to track her movements from the air and on the ground as she grows into a sexually mature adult.
Her teeth are very sharp, very young-looking teeth. Her canines are fairly pointed. The incisors are sharp. She's a young animal, and just in the size. She's probably right at a year old.
In any wildlife population, age structure is important. A diversity of animals, in this case, older adults, juveniles, and kits, is one sign of a healthy population.
So finding these young animals is tremendous. It tells us that there's reproduction going on here. You know, the animals are making a living here. So just being able to catch this number of animals, 5 of these wolverines we caught within 2 miles of each other. And we've got everything from adult male, adult female, yearling or juvenile animals. One of the females is pregnant, so it's a tremendous opportunity to learn some things about just the basic population characteristics of this little group of wolverines here.
The wolverine is placed back into the safety of the trap to sleep off the effects of the drug. 2 hours later, she's released, darting quickly out of sight. About 2 miles away at the second trap, the researchers discover a feisty one.
Look, here he comes. They are a ferocious animal. You know, they're a tenacious animal. Down. Sure. Whoa!
Oh, he's a beauty. That is beautiful.
Oh, he's gigantic.
We're learning that they're an aggressive nature probably benefits them or it better enables them to live in the type of country that they live in.
He's a 29-pound adult male. Never expecting to catch 6 wolverines in 1 week, the biologists have temporarily run out of implants, so this fellow is fitted with a radio collar. Even tranquilized, the animal emits a low rumbling sound that is incredibly powerful.
This is a lethal weapon, isn't it? Okay, buddy, you and me, we're going in.
Later, when the drug is worn off, the trap is opened, and the full effects of that snarl can be felt.
How you doing, buddy?
It's a chilling sound, but almost humbling at the same time, reminding us somehow of the need to preserve these primitive places. So this savage song of the wolverine will never be lost.
If anyone ever asked me what wilderness sounds like, you know, I'd have to say you got to hear this, because it's just an absolutely incredible sound.
My fishing partners and I get always upset.
Norman McLean writes in his book, A River Runs Through It, every different kind of trout is on a different speedometer, and the correct timing will vary also with the stream and even the weather and the time of day. The key is to learn the secret of each river you fish. A lifelong challenge for those of us who love to fly fish. Keeping a personal diary of our fishing experiences can be a handy reference tool. Fish and Game hands out free angler diaries like this. The idea is for you to fill it out and return it to Fish and Game. Biologists record your notes to use for management decisions, and then return it along with a new diary for next season. A fishing diary can become the framework for a lifetime of memories. Wonderful companions, special places, beautiful trout, and especially the flies and nymphs that made them bite.
How do you know what to use?
Look back in my diary. It's quite funny, these San Juan worms are a tremendous fly to use here on the Henry's Fork.
Jack Parker figures he averages about 100 days a year fishing for trout. Most of those are spent on the South Fork of the Snake, on the Madison River, or here on Henry's Fork in eastern Idaho. Over the years, he's collected quite a few fond fishing memories in his diaries and a wealth of experience to study before each trip.
Oh, for reference, so I can find out how fishing was last year on this particular date or time, and more or less just, I guess, why women keep diaries, to know what's going on. And I've sat in long winter nights and read back through my diaries from 4 or 5 years ago, and brings back a lot of good memories. Boy, this is a big rainbow. Beautiful color. I don't know if it's my imagination, but I always think the fish are prettier in the wintertime. And he took the San Juan worm. He's a nice fish. Male, with a hook jaw, real pretty color. Excellent shape.
The rainbow measures about 18 inches. A bright splash of rose along the side indicates that the fish is coming into its spawning colors.
Put them back and give them a drink and let them go another day.
Each river is distinct, with its own peculiar character. For a fly fisherman, the challenge is learning to distinguish and imitate the unique insect life of a particular stretch of stream.
The midges on the Henry's Fork are considerably darker than the ones on the South Fork, the bodies of them. So you have to vary your fly patterns.
Midges spend the early stages of their lives beneath the water alongside a whole host of other aquatic insects.
Oh, there's a stonefly. Now, this is what we're looking for. This is what the fish really like. This is a golden stone here. They're a smaller variety. This is a major food source for the trout in our rivers and most of Idaho.
Jack is an active member of the Federation of Fly Fishers, an organization that ties regional fishing clubs into an international network. They help to coordinate local work projects such as willow plantings to stabilize riverbanks or building fences to keep the cattle out, important elements of stream conservation.
There's another one. Well, you care about the resource. If it wasn't for the resource, we wouldn't have any place to fish. The resource is the most important aspect of it, but you can't keep taking without putting anything back, and that's one of the good things about the Federation of Fly Fishers and the clubs that get involved on these work and conservation projects. They feel they've enjoyed the sport and the resource so much, it's just time for them to put something back. There's one, probably around 14 inches. Just beautiful, vivid colors on them.
Jack cuts the line carefully, releasing the fish unharmed. Cold hands and frozen guides go with the territory if you're going to fish in the winter, but the physical discomfort seems minor when balanced against the rewards.
And days like this, or rainy days, or fogged-in days, they have a lot of mood to them. And I think that that's something I like better than a bright sunny day. There's a good fish there. That's a real good fish. Fishing's got a lot of different things to a lot of people. I just like the places that fish live. I like water. I like seeing the waterfowl. I really like fishing this part of the river because of all the ducks and geese, swans. About the only other noises you hear besides the water running are geese honking and the ducks quacking and swans making their noise.
Most fly fishermen have a certain fly or style of fly that's always sure to bring them luck. Jack's secret is his collection of beadheads.
And they're just a bead, either gold or silver colored, and you tie them on to your favorite nymph, and they're just amazing.
Whatever the secret, it seems to be working on this snowy day.
These fish are beautiful. Especially the wild trout. They're the reason I'm here. They're the reason I put up with cold toes and cold fingers and wet gear. There he goes.
That's what it's all about, huh?
Yep, that's why we're here.
Boy, what a pull on that nooker.
Good job.
Good boy, nooker. Dog just went over on this nice trail.
Now we'll take a journey into Idaho's backcountry, the old-fashioned way, by dog sled. Historians tell us that dogs were first hitched to sleds somewhere in Siberia over 4,000 years ago. But most of us came by our vision of dog sledding from author Jack London's romantic adventure tales of reliable, trustworthy dog teams that were the key to survival in the far reaches of the frozen Alaskan North. Just the sound alone evokes a strange sense of longing. There's something incredibly romantic and yet starkly primitive about that long, drawn-out howl.
Okay, Sika dog. Come on, girl, let's go. Let's go. Come on. Let's go, Sika. Come on, you old lady. Come on, good dog.
Modern-day mushers John and Colleen Marsluff encounter the ghosts of that romance and adventure each time they hitch up their team.
You get that feel when you're out there. It's really, especially when you're the first one out on a trail, you really feel like you're breaking new ground, and you can, really romanticize and think of exploring the great Arctic. And Sika dog's ready.
Not that much has changed. Harnesses are brightly colored synthetic instead of leather or sinew, and sleds have become more lightweight. But the basics remain the same, especially the dogs and their relationship with their masters.
I like the idea of a breed of dog like Siberian Huskies being used for what they were originally bred for, what they originally established, that domestication and that relationship between man and dog.
These dogs just naturally take to running. They love to run more than anything. They really enjoy getting out and just running full blast.
An excited Scout is matched up with Kenai, forming the lead pair of a dog team of 6.
You want your enthusiasm and brains up front to keep everybody else moving and go in the right direction. Hike!
That's right, hike, not mush. John says that only Hollywood uses the word mush. The real commands are actually borrowed from oxen teams.
Ha over, Kenai, hike!
Haw for left, gee for right. And that all-important command, whoa.
I gotta untangle, Wiley. Whoa, whoa, stay.
The Marslifts began dog sledding as a way to exercise their family dogs. Over the years, that activity has grown to include 5 more dogs. Dog sled racing, dog shows, teaching dog sled classes, and ski joring, a popular sport in Europe that's just beginning to catch on in the United States.
Anybody can do it. You know, you get a good harness and you get a good line and a padded hip pack and off you go. Good dog. To me, it's the ultimate. If you have one dog and you're really interested in the sport and doing something to work the dog, it's an ideal thing to do.
It's a great way to explore the outdoors in a quiet fashion. Doesn't use any energy. And it's, you really feel more connected, I think, with the outdoors. You're actually part of the environment like this instead of just blowing through it.
I'm by, Corey, I'm by.
Run by, Kenai.
I'm by.
It's a great way to see wildlife. Wildlife reacts to these animals a lot like they do to a pack of wolves. And so you can sneak up on a feeding group of eagles and ravens at a carcass and really get a good close look, whereas they'd be scared off miles ahead with a snowmobile.
I'm by. Good job.
Dog sledding isn't exactly the easy, relaxing ride you might expect.
Attaboy.
John is continually on the alert, shifting his weight to guide the sled into turns and constantly shouting words of encouragement to the dogs.
Good boy, Corey. The musher's really the 7th dog on a 6-dog team. And you pedal by kicking just like you do in cross-country skiing. Sometimes you have to get off and run. Come on, guys, hike. Good dogs. Got to help the dogs out so you don't discourage them.
In Jack London's best-loved story, The Call of the Wild, a sled dog named Buck eventually abandons the harness to run wild with the wolves. It seems his legacy still lingers today, caught up in the romance and adventure of the modern-day mushers and their hauntingly magnificent dogs.
Look at them. I mean, they look like wolves. You want to see them out here in the snow. You want to see them having a good time, and that's why we enjoy it so much, because they do.
As we close our show tonight, we'll take a look at a fascinating creature, the Shiras moose. The largest member of the deer family, stands 7 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing up to half a ton. Awkward, ungainly, homely. They appear to be a fumbling sort of creature, but actually the moose is an animal that's well adapted to its environment. Long legs make it possible for the moose to reach the tender shoots and branches of the willows that make up its winter diet. Their coats are a rough blackish brown, made up of brittle, hollow hairs that provide the insulation necessary to endure long, cold winters. Elongated mule-like ears and a humped back complete the picture of a cumbersome creature. But when startled, it trots almost gracefully, running on top of ice and snow with a speed that seems out of character. They are mainly solitary animals. When 2 are found together, it's usually a cow and a calf. This smaller animal is probably last year's offspring, Although almost full size, the young female will follow her mother until early June, when the cow will give birth to a new calf and abandon last year's offspring. There's a certain mystique about this animal. Its solitary ways and baleful stare reminds us that we are intruders in its world, a guest in the wild places it inhabits. And it also reminds us that as long as we respect the wild creatures of this earth, we too can enjoy the places of peace and solitude that are the heritage of all creatures.